You're listening to CX Passport, the show about creating great customer experiences with a dash of travel talk. Each episode, we'll talk with our guests about great CX, travel, and just like the best journeys, explore new directions we never anticipated. I'm your host, Rick Denton. I believe the best meals are served outside and require a passport. Let's get going. Can a Liverpool supporter and a Chelsea supporter successfully record a podcast episode together? Knowing what I know about today's guest, Ryan Noakes, Customer Success Manager for SAI 360, who talks with us from Manchester, England, I'm fully confident we can make it work, even if he does like red. A self-described future winner of MasterChef, Ryan bakes up a pastry case. I'm a dad, I'm allowed, nay, required to make bad dad jokes and puns. A pastry case of great customer experience insight. Talking to Ryan reveals a heart for the customer and a heart for the front line, the actual end users that helps him be a success at customer success. You might think that came from a career centered on the customer from the beginning. True, but it wasn't what you'd think. We'll learn more about that in the show. Would you expect a compliance role to become a customer role? Nope, me neither, but it happened with Ryan. Empathy, relationship building, hospitality, words that are thrown all over the customer experience world. Ryan embodies those words well beyond just words and into action. Ryan, welcome to CX Passport.
Thanks so much, Rick. What a wonderful introduction. It's always quite strange, actually, hearing other people say so many complimentary stuff about yourself, but I mean, I do quite like it.
Well, good. Copy it, use it, enjoy it, because it's all true from what I've come to know about you. Let's get started right there, though, at the beginning. Customer success was not stop one for you in your career. What was your career journey like, and how did that help you get into customer success, not only into customer success, but really thrive in it?
Yeah, you're right. No, I'm not kind of fell into customer success from the start. It's something that I transitioned into. And I think one of the key things, and I tell this to everybody that I meet when I connect with them, is transferable skills, and about having a certain set of skills that allow you to quite easily transition into a CS role. So for me, there was a little bit about self-reflection, and it's about understanding your skill set, but also understanding the responsibilities that you're currently undertaking in your role. Mm-hmm. And actually, when you look into that, if you are in any way customer facing, you will find that if you're kind of centered around the customer and you're putting the customer first in any particular role, whether it be retail or hospitality or compliance or administration, actually you could probably break into customer success. So 5, 6, 7 years ago, when I kind of moved out of hospitality and I got into kind of the working world as such, and my career started, even at that point, I remembered all of the skills that I took from my early life, because of course, in hospitality, you're working with customers.
Yeah.
You understand pressures. I was once a chef. So, of course, that's all about...
You really understand pressure.
Yeah, time management, prioritization. I've been a barman. I've been a cleaner. I was an ice cream man for half a season.
What's that? Wait, we didn't know about that. We may talk about that later. Ice cream man, but all right. You've had quite the customer-facing focus. It's brilliant.
Everything you can name. I'm a trained barista.
Oh my gosh.
I could go on. But all of that is, as we said, centered around the customer, understanding how to give that customer a really good experience. So when I started my career, as you said, I started off in compliance. I worked for a food, fire, and health and safety compliance and consultancy company. Whew, that's a mouthful.
Boy, that really is. I'm glad you said it, not me.
And I worked within the compliance records team, and I was a compliance records advisor. So we dealt with the hospitality industry, which is perfect because that was my background. And a lot of the hospitality industry have to record certain records for legislation. So things like cooking temperatures and fridge temperatures, cleaning records, essentially to prove that they're safe. And we produced those paper records. And what became apparent in the 2 years I had that role, I merged and molded and manipulated and created all of these wonderful buzzwords, that role, into something that was completely different to when I started. By the end, I was doing face-to-face meetings with my customers because they were local, and it was easy to say, what is your operation? Okay, great. You've got 20 fridges. Perfect. I'll put 20 in the diary.
Yeah.
You've got this. You've got 2 floors. We're going to need a diary on each floor because you can't pass them between the chefs, etc., etc. Now, what's key for your listeners to remember is I am in no way environmentally health qualified. I have no degree in the legislation. I have no background in the specifics around what the industry require. I have the customer element to be able to build them what they need to build based on their feedback. When a customer success type role became available internally, and I say type because the first role I actually did was an onboarding specialist. When I saw that role became available, and this is what my top tip to anybody that's listening is, I looked within my skill set, and I kind of looked at what I'm currently doing, and I thought, I'm doing everything that a CSM does, just in a different role. I'm meeting with the customers. I'm understanding their requirements. I'm ensuring that they have a great experience, that they get a good end product. I'm listening to their concerns. I'm listening to their feedback. All of that sort of core element of a CSM I was doing. And going back to the compliance days, I obviously needed to understand that about the restaurant or the hotel or the cafe that I was doing the records for. So that was easily a transferable skill for me to get to know them. And I kind of started my customer success journey there. But it's those core skills that I picked up really early on in my career. And even last year, I was lucky enough to speak for a local college in the UK to their business students. And I actually spoke about transferable skills in general, not just customer success.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember saying to them that when I was 17 or 18, working at a fish and chips restaurant as a waiter, at the time, I didn't realize that actually there was skills that I picked up there that are still relevant now to my customer success days.
This is your captain speaking. I want to thank you for listening to CX Passport today. We've now reached our cruising altitude, so I'll turn that seatbelt sign off. While you're getting comfortable, hit that follow or subscribe button on your favorite podcast app so you'll never miss an episode. Love it if you'd tell a friend about CX Passport, leave a review so others can discover the show as well. Now, sit back and enjoy the rest of the episode.
What a intriguing journey. What a varied journey. The transferable skills absolutely comes through. There was something you said in there back when you were talking about the compliance role that caught my ears. And it was this idea of, okay, compliance and the restaurant would typically be very combative, like against each other, but somehow you morph that into this partnership. And while customer success isn't always dealing with combative relationships and combative customers, but what about that making your customer your partner? All the way back in compliance, have you carried forward into customer success?
Oh, definitely. I mean, in customer success, collaboration is key. And I think one of the things that I certainly do and I do well is to be able to become my customers' trusted advisor. So they actually understand that when I'm producing information for them or I'm kind of attending our regular health checks, I'm suggesting stuff because I know what works for them. And actually at kickoff, what I say to all my customers is that the strap line, first slide, is I am your champion within SAI 360, and I'm here to help you kind of get the best experience out of the products and service. But it's that kind of champion thing. And it's like what you said, back in the compliance days, I really needed to actually build a relationship with these customers so that when I was dealing with these customers, if they said to me, I don't think, okay, remove that page, for example,
right,
I could say, I think you might want to keep that in. Or let's maybe think about a kind of alternative solution. But look, either way, you're going to have to record that in some way, shape, or form.
that true partnership there. That was what I heard coming through, and can totally see that coming forward in the customer success. Now, you referred to a team, and the team part comes to mind here because you've been frontline focused from the very beginning. Everything you said, ice cream person, barista, bartender, whatever that was, right? But too many times companies, they fail to really appreciate that customer insight that comes from the front line. I talk about it a lot on this show. And I could also see even a customer success team focusing on the purchaser of whatever the product is, or the primary contact, but not really thinking of the frontline user. But that's got to be top of mind for you, given all of your background. How then do you help your teams be so customer focused that they're thinking not just of the initial purchaser or the initial contact, but that frontline user of what you're providing?
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree. I mean, there's a couple of things that are really key to achieving success in that space. First of all, you need empathy above all. And I know that's a kind of a skill that we throw out really often in customer success. And with that comes an extra level. You need to really be able to picture that scenario so that when you're dealing with your primary contact, I want to know, but how is this application deployed within your business? How is it being adopted? And what are the challenges the person on the front line? Tell me that situation. One of my customers shared a story with me, and he did what I wish everybody would do. He said to me, okay, Ryan, so mobile application for logging incidents. We're a construction company. We've got a brand new building that we're kind of contracted to do. We're on the 60th floor, open to the elements, no ceiling or walls, because obviously still laying the concrete.
Oh, gosh, I'm getting nervous already.
deep winter. It's freezing cold. And we're there. You've got a contract. I want to lay some concrete. There's an issue. I spot an observation. I get my mobile application out. It takes 10 seconds to load. I've given up. I put it back in my pocket. I've got concrete to lay.
Yeah.
Now, he could have just said to me, there's a lag time, or what's the loading time for this page, or I'm having bad response time. He pictured a scenario that he made relevant to me. Whether that was real or not, I don't know. But my point is, I actually got the struggles. And I think empathy is key. And I think having that voice of the customer, when you've got that at the forefront of your mind, and when you start to collaborate with your colleagues at such a level where they know that you're the voice of the customer.
The background of your frontline and how that then has expanded into taking you to where you are today across that element, really understanding, getting those stories, those actual stories. And I like how you said, even if they made it up, but it gave you were able to take in that story from the customer. And even retelling it to me now, I can visualize being on the 60th floor. It's 10 seconds to load an app. I don't care anymore. I'm not logging this issue. I got concrete to get poured, so that I can get the 61st and the 62nd, the 63rd floor that I got to get done. It makes complete sense. And then being able to bring that in. I talk a lot about that in my business, this total voice of the customer approach. The idea of getting that voice of the customer in and then doing something with it. So what if you got a survey, but it's that listen and act aspect of it that is so vital. And what you're describing there is taking that in. And I think having been a part of the front line, you have a particular awareness of what it means to be there, to offer up that input and expect that something is done with that input.
Definitely, because I can imagine when I was in that situation myself.
Yeah.
And I can kind of really put myself in the customer's shoes. And I think that is the key takeaway from that, is that everybody that's working in customer success and CS leaders and departments might think that you're kind of going about things the right way in terms of the way that you approach, as you said, surveys and feedback. But if your team really aren't putting themselves in the customer's shoes, you're going to struggle to be able to communicate that internally, because all you're going to be doing is passing facts between facts. Right. And what you need to do is you need to say, look, this isn't just verbatim. This is a struggle for my customer because of ABC. And when you do that, you've kind of you're on an upward trajectory. And I think that's the difference between average CSMs and really good CSMs.
I like that. I like that a lot. Now, I'm going to take you out of the CSM world for a bit, because when I see somebody's profile talk about MasterChef, one of the things it does make me recall a former guest. It was Katie Stabler way back in episode 25. She was actually in season 12 of MasterChef UK. So it was kind of cool to talk about that. But I'm starting to see a trend in this show when I talk to my folks from the UK that there's some MasterChef interest here. And so if you're going to be that future winner, what is it about cooking that you enjoy to the point that you would want to endure that competition?
Well, yeah, future winner might be backing myself too much there.
No,
But
go
no,
for it. Embrace it.
I'm very jealous of your former guest that she actually managed to get on, and I will certainly trawl through the archives to see. But for me, cooking has always been a passion, I think. And I ended up living temporarily with my auntie, who's a wonderful woman, and my uncle.
Okay.
And when I was kind of 13, 14, 15, he was a huge cook, a home cook. He would kind of nail birds to the back door when I came home from school that were for tea, and I just observed what he was doing, and I was really interested, and I was really fascinated. Kind of my early career, I was around food, and then how I actually got into cooking. So me and my now wife, 8 years ago when we first got together, we were living in this seaside town, Whitby in North Yorkshire. We were working in hospitality, as we said. We were kind of running this cafe down at the pier, and my brother lived in Australia, in Sydney, Australia. He was already out there, and he said, "Do you fancy coming out for a year? Perfect time. You've got no commitments, no ties, no mortgage, kids, and not really a career." And I said, "Great, yep, go out there." So we went out there, and the plan was never to travel. The plan was to live with Adam, because that's what we wanted to do. So we lived and worked, almost became part of society. So in Australia, it's either alcohol or coffee, really. And if you want to work in bars and restaurants and anywhere that serves alcohol, which is 99.9% of the places, you need a responsible service of alcohol, which is training and certification.
Sure.
Or you would become a barista, like I did. So I went on a 1-day course, got my gold star, and I learned how to make proper coffee. So there was this little restaurant down at the wharf, and I went, and he said, "Yep, okay, great. We need coffee." And then a couple of days in, he said, "Do you fancy learning the menu? Do you fancy being at the back? Because we've got Ellen, who's the front, who's the coffee." And I went, "Yeah, of course. Show me it." Within a couple of weeks, I learned the menu, and he threw me the keys, and he said, "You and Ellen, there you go. I've got my other businesses. You open up, you shut up."
Wow.
And that was me for 6 months cooking away. I've got so many cookbooks, and I could just watch the cooking shows all day on repeat. So I would like one day to apply, because I think I do enjoy competition. I do thrive under competition like that. And ultimately, I think if you're doing something that you're passionate about, which actually is quite a good sentiment for professional life as well, if you're doing something you enjoy and stuff, then the competition element is only a bonus. So who knows, one day you might see me lifting the trophy.
So now I'm thinking about that trip to Australia, and that's a long flight. Any kind of flight like that, it can be nice to take a little break. And I often bring folks, actually every episode, we take a little break and we jump into the first class lounge. And so imagining long travel like that, but join me here in the first class lounge here on CX Passport. We'll move quickly here and hopefully have a little bit of fun. What is a dream travel location from your past?
From my past, I would say there's been so many. We holiday a lot. I would say Venice in Italy was a standout because that was one of my first birthday trips with my wife. Mm-hmm. I love Spain. I love Greece. But there's something about Italy.
Now, thinking going forward, what is a dream travel location you've not been to yet?
Oh, okay. So I've never been to America. and that's something that I really want to do. There's so many places.
Then let's get you over here.
That's it.
Well, I welcome you over here. Look me up if you're in the North Texas, the Dallas area. Anytime that you're over here, it'd be great to meet a guest in person. What a shocking thing that would be. What is a favorite thing to eat?
Oh, food-wise, these questions are always difficult, aren't they? Because there's so many things. So, if I was thinking about my last meal, I would say there's a couple. So, full English breakfast has to be up there in terms of one of my favorite. Yeah. It's just, there's something about it. It's just great. But I think for me, my last meal, my favorite would be probably a lamb shank. And the reason being is because the memories, and that's what food does. Yeah, it provokes memories. And I remember being, even as a young child, going to visit my nan, my dad's mum, who's sadly no longer with us. And she used to always on a Sunday do the best lamb shank. And she was a classic grandmother. So she would be real, like butcher's meat, slaving over the stove for hours. So it would absolutely fall apart. And I think in some way, shape or form, I would need a lamb shank if I had to eat the last thing on this earth.
I love how you tied that to memories too. And now I've never heard lamb shank as an answer before, but now I see the beauty of it. And I don't know that I'd qualify this as my favorite thing to eat, but you brought back a very, very rich memory for me of my mom making fried chicken Sunday dinner. And so now I'm sitting here thinking about that. She would call it fried chicken mess because it was just this wonderful mess. Oh gosh, now you've given me these memories, and it's almost noon here, and now I'm hungry. So I almost want to end the episode here, but we're gonna keep going.
So you want chicken? You want lamb?
I want it all. This is the opposite side. What's a thing your parents forced you to eat but you hated as a kid?
Oh, so this is an easy one for me. Mashed potato. But I'm actually quite funny with textures, so that's why. So I'm really difficult to please in terms of textures. So for me,
interesting.
I struggle with mashed potato because a lot of people do it really creamy and gloopy.
Yeah.
And
listen to you, and that's one of my favorite things to eat. We'll close out the lounge here. What is one travel item, not including your phone, that you will not leave home without?
Travel item, not including my phone. So I always like to take some sort of games. So it's nice to actually go out on the balcony with your loved one and play some cards or some beanbag throwing or whatever it may be, or a frisbee on the beach.
Ryan, there's something that I want to go back to that you mentioned earlier. Now, let's close the episode with this. And you talked about active listening as a way of building relationship. You talked about it kind of on the surface, but I'm curious, how have you really demonstrated and how do you use active listening? We all know the word, but for you, how have you used that in your customer success and really deepened those relationships with your customers?
Well, wonderful place to end because I think it's such a poignant and interesting topic. And again, this is going to make you stand out as a CSM because it shows that you care and it shows that you listen. So for me, there's a couple of things that I do. And one of them is not necessarily listening, but understanding. So I like to research my companies. I follow them on LinkedIn, so I get their news and announcements. And what I mean by that is, because then on my next health check, if it's something significant, I can say, hey guys, well done on that award you won. Or I've just seen that, in fact, switching it to a business, commercial aspect. Oh, hey, Mr. Account Manager, you know our customer that we deal with. Did you see they've just signed a new deal in India? Great. Yeah. So learning about them and kind of picking up on all that information from different sources, YouTube, and if they've got a podcast, listening to their industry experts. But the actual kind of actively listening to conversations, it's about when you are presenting, it's about learning to obviously listen more than you talk, but it's about actually commanding the conversation so that you're not just saying what's working well, what isn't, what are your challenges, what are your goals. It's actually about adding that personal element, and it's about talking. So across like the last couple of months, the amount of conversations that I've had with my customers where they've mentioned just in passing, I'm really sorry, the doorbell's just gone. It's just I've got a load of new stuff because we're moving apartments next week. A month later, I get on the health check and I say, "How's your new apartment? Are you in?"
Nice. Yeah.
And they go, "Wow, he remembered." And your listeners can't see these, but I've got some pop dolls in the back.
Yeah.
So I'm a collector of WWE, specifically Funko Pop dolls, and the amount of people that have noticed them and obviously bring them up in conversation. And I remember once, and this is obviously a kind of actively listening but reciprocated, a customer of mine in a previous role, he chatted about the pop dolls, and then it must have been 3 or 4 months because they got quarterly meetings and we missed one. So it was about 4 months past. We got on a meeting and the first thing he said was, "I thought of you when I was in Walmart." And I said, "Okay, did you?" And he saw a big WWE Funko Pop and he said, I turned to my wife and said, "I wonder how much this would cost to ship to Ryan." And the fact that he could, in Walmart, looked at a pop doll and remembered me as his, and that's the relationship we have. You'll hear a lot of speakers speak. One of the things they always say is use people's names.
Right.
Which sounds obvious, but it is actually, it's really key. But one of the things that I do is I go one step further. I've got a lot of customers in the US. Now it's morning to them, if it's my afternoon. I always say good morning. And that actually makes a huge difference to them because they realize that it's not morning for me, but I'm acknowledging that where they are. So it's going one step further. Don't just listen to what they're saying.
Yeah.
Listen to the stuff that sits behind it. Pick up on those little bits of kind of nuggets of information that you can then jot down or mentally remember. Or if you don't, just write it down. I've got a profile card. I just jot everything down when I research the business, and then I just keep it as a rolling document. And people really, really will appreciate the fact that you listen.
And that's what I am capturing out of that active listening, right? The phrase is not a new one. It's a common phrase. But it is that conscious choice to pay attention to not just what is being said, but what is happening around. Yeah. And then I think an important point here, too, to note is it's okay to write it down. It's not.
Yes.
There are things that even, maybe I write down about my spouse that I know is coming up, and I don't rely just on memory or those sorts of things. And it's okay to do that.
Exactly. And you're not going to remember everything, but it's the fact that, like you said, you've taken the effort.
It's been brilliant talking with you, Ryan. I've enjoyed the heck out of today's conversation. I do want to give you an opportunity. Tell me how, if people want to learn more about you and your perspectives on your journey to customer success, or even about SAI 360, how can they learn more?
LinkedIn would definitely be the place. I'm always happy to have a virtual coffee with anybody. I'm always up for expanding my network. Inbox is always open, and I actually, again, am interested in what everybody else does. And if any listeners are thinking they would like to know more, or they want to ask me any questions, nothing is too silly, and I'm always kind of up for helping the next kind of generation as such.
Excellent. I will get all of that into the show notes, so listeners, you can scroll right down and have a look and get straight to Ryan's LinkedIn. Ryan, thank you again for the conversation today. Thank you for joining me on CX Passport. Great to know your path into customer success management, and great tips to offer those that are on their way there. Best of luck in that MasterChef vision. I wish you the best of luck getting there someday soon, Ryan. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. You're a wonderful host, and you do some really great stuff. So I'm privileged to be one of your guests, and I think anybody's listening is delighted to have you in their ears.
Thanks for joining us this week on CX Passport. Make sure to visit our website, cxpassport.com, where you can hit subscribe so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, you can check out the rest of the EX4CX website. If you're looking to get real about customer experience, EX4CX is available to help you increase revenue by starting to listen to your customers and create great experiences for every customer, every time. Thanks for listening to CX Passport, and be sure to tune in for our next episode. Until next time, I'm Rick Denton, and I believe the best meals are served outside and require a passport.